A very, very dangerous situation is unfolding along the coastline of Mexico this evening. Hello, I'm Mike Nasa with this 11 p.m. tropical video update, a bulletin update on a hurricane in the eastern Pacific that has taken the entire meteorological community by storm. This is Hurricane Otis. 48 hours ago when I spoke to you, it was a low-end tropical storm expected to parallel or scrape the coastline of Mexico, maybe not even becoming a hurricane. Unexpectedly today, Otis has strengthened into a hurricane of Category 5 intensity, the highest category there is, and is nearing the big major metropolitan city of Acapulco with the potential for catastrophic impacts. Here's the latest as of 10 p.m. Central Time, 11 p.m. Eastern, on Hurricane Otis. Otis is at 16.1 north, 99.7 west. Winds are up to 160 miles per hour. That makes it a Category 5 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. The pressure is estimated to be 927 millibars. We had an aircraft in there earlier recording the rapid deepening. Right now it's a 927 millibar estimated pressure. We don't have an aircraft in there. And it is moving slowly but steadily towards the north-northwest at 9 miles per hour, and that motion should bring it inland and ashore right near areas there of Acapulco, Mexico, overnight tonight or early on Wednesday morning. This is a major, major serious situation. We have a hurricane warning in effect. I wanted to go down the list here. It is from Punta Maldonado westward to Zihuatanejo, Mexico, and that is a hurricane warning. Anybody in that hurricane warning area needs to be prepared for the worst. Okay? Big time. This is the National Hurricane Center discussion as of 10 p.m. Central Time from forecaster Eric Blake, and I wanted to read it to you to give you some sort of an idea of what we're dealing with. A nightmare scenario is unfolding for the southern Mexico coastline this evening, with rapidly intensifying Otis continuing to approach. Satellite estimate shows that it's now a Category 5 hurricane. It has explosively intensified 95 knots in the last 24 hours. That has only been exceeded one time in modern times, and that was Hurricane Patricia in 2015. Otis should maintain Category 5 status before the hurricane makes landfall near the Acapulco area overnight or early Wednesday. The only significant change is that it has been shifted to the right because now the hurricane has wobbled to the east, and the latest model trends are anticipated to continue through landfall. Rapid weakening should occur after landfall. Otis should dissipate tomorrow night over the high terrain of Mexico. This is an extremely serious situation for Acapulco metropolitan area, with the core of a destructive Category 5 hurricane likely to come near or over that large city early on Wednesday. There are no hurricanes on record even close to this intensity for this part of Mexico. And that's from forecaster Eric Blake at the National Hurricane Center. As Dr. Phil Klotzbach from Colorado State University noted that this is the fastest 12-hour intensification rate we've ever seen in the eastern North Pacific, breaking the old record set by Patricia. So we now have a hurricane that is the fastest strengthening we've ever seen in the Pacific Ocean. And that is going to be devastating because it's not headed out to sea, it's headed into land along the Mexican coastline. Here's the latest infrared satellite, and again, look at this well-defined eye, and note the motion there. I'm going to take this line here and show you it was moving pretty steadily towards the north-northwest, but note there at the end how the eye has started that northward wobble. And so anywhere in that little V area that I just drew, this area is likely to have the highest potential for those catastrophic Category 5 impacts. And it's not just the wind at the coastline. Anybody on that right side where there's onshore flow will have devastating storm surges. Now, here's the wind radii, and again, this is just such bad news for downtown Acapulco, a very large major metropolitan city. This is the forecast track as of 11 p.m. Eastern Time, making the hurricane come ashore right near Acapulco. So you guys could be on the right front quadrant of a Category 5 hurricane. And let me note, no Category 5 hurricane has ever made landfall on this side of Mexico. Ever. We've had plenty of hurricanes make landfall as Category 5s in the Atlantic. Never had one in the Eastern Pacific on record. That may change over the next couple of hours with Hurricane Otis. Now, what happened to cause this hurricane to be such a forecasting bust? The computer models. This is the forecast model intensity, anywhere from a tropical storm to a Category 1 hurricane. And the forecast had it somewhere around there. A tropical storm, maybe getting close to a hurricane. This line here, this dotted line, is what actually happened. It's now a Category 5 hurricane, off the charts, well above any of the hurricane forecast models. The HWRF, the hurricane models, the SHIPS model, the UK Met, the GFS, the Canadian, none of them predicted this rapid change in intensity. I think the thing that happened with the intensity is that the hurricane was so tightly coiled that the inner core took shape very, very quickly. Now, the key messages for this hurricane as of 10 p.m. Central. Number one, Otis is forecast to be a potentially catastrophic Category 5 hurricane when it reaches the southern coast of Mexico early Wednesday. Life-threatening hurricane force winds are expected within that hurricane warning area I told you, from Maldonado, Mexico, Punta Maldonado, all the way to Zihuatanejo, and damage could be catastrophic. A Category 5 hurricane, sustained winds easily Category 4-5 strength, gusts well over 160 miles per hour, devastating catastrophic damage. Not to mention, number two, a potentially catastrophic storm surge that will produce life-threatening coastal flooding near and to the right, to the east of where that center makes landfall. Near the coast, the surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. Now, what's bad about that for Acapulco is if you look at that track that I showed you before, if it makes landfall near and to the right, all these little bays here right near downtown Acapulco. So again, it could not be higher stakes for that area. And number three, heavy rains from Otis will continue to impact areas of southwest Mexico this week. You're going to have flash and urban flooding, mudslides, especially in higher terrain. Again, all of this moisture is going to spread over Mexico and cause a lot of problems. Here's another look at it on the infrared satellite. Note these little white dots. This is lightning being picked up. Lightning within the eye wall. This is indicative of a very violent hurricane. And look at the cold cloud tops. On this scale, these are warm cloud tops in blue, and then they get colder. Look at how dark they get when they're gray. And now we have a ring of gray cold cloud tops surrounding the eye of the hurricane with the cool cloud tops right around the eye. This is a perfect strengthening Category 5 hurricane. Couldn't be more strong right around that core. Couldn't be intensifying faster. Couldn't be more dangerous. And it's headed directly for a major metropolitan city of Acapulco, Mexico. What a scenario unfolding here with Hurricane Otis. Absolutely devastating. Now in the Atlantic, Tammy, Otis makes Tammy look like nothing. As of 11 p.m. Atlantic time, Hurricane Tammy was at 24.9 north, 60.7 west, winds of 85. It should strengthen a little bit before it turns post-tropical, moving northeast at 9. It should still be a strong post-tropical cyclone as it moves here south of Bermuda, but Bermuda, you're in the cone, so sometime by Friday to Sunday, we should have a better idea of a direct impact, but indirectly, high swells, high surf, and the potential for rough seas and gusty winds. We think it'll eventually bend back west, maybe even west-southwest. Again, like I said a few days ago, it could eventually get kicked out again, or it might just continue into areas there further to the southwest. Here are the computer models. The Canadian model wants to take it towards Jacksonville, Florida. The GFS wants to take it towards Guantanamo Bay and then back out over the Cayman Islands of the Caribbean. Wouldn't that be something if Tammy pretty much dissipates, but whatever's left of it made it into the Caribbean and then it came back? What a story that would be, but that's unlikely. Right now, something meandering around Bermuda as a post-tropical cyclone is most likely. Here's the latest satellite imagery of Hurricane Tammy, finally starting to wrap up an eye, so it looks like it's going to strengthen here. It could get close to or even reach Category 2 strength before doing that weird snake-like track here very close to Bermuda. In the Caribbean, we don't have anything there yet, but some of the long-range models are showing something might get going there around Halloween or the first week of November. So if you're in the Western Caribbean or Florida, keep a close eye on the tropics. It might not be done yet. Dr. Phil Klotzbach from Colorado State, he mentioned the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season is above average. And again, we have normally seen 12 named storms. This year we've seen 20. We normally see about 6 hurricanes. So far this year we've seen 7. and we normally have 2.9 major hurricanes. We've had 3. So the number of named storms for sure is way above what we normally see, as well as the number of hurricanes and major hurricanes. So again, it has been a very busy hurricane season, unusual for an El Nino year. Typically, in El Nino years, we have much more activity on the Pacific side with dangerous hurricane strikes in Mexico. And this year, the Atlantic had a lot of storms as Tammy is spinning out there, looking a lot better on that satellite. Don't be surprised if it cranks up a little more than what we think. But right now, tonight, the focus is on the Pacific. We have rainfall occurring with what's left of our depression over Nicaragua, Central America, moving into the Pacific. Maybe it'll do something in a couple of days, but for now, the entire focus has to be on, look at this, a minimal tropical storm beautifully blossoming into a Category 5 hurricane. That's very rare. It happens. We saw it happen over the Florida Straits in 1935 when a tropical storm went over Andros Island and was a Category 5 hurricane by the upper Florida Keys. That's the strongest hurricane ever to hit the United States in 1935. This is going to be the strongest or one of the strongest hurricanes ever to hit the eastern Pacific side of Mexico, Hurricane Otis. All preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion as the center of a Category 5 hurricane nears downtown Acapulco. I'm Mike Naso with continuing coverage of Hurricane Otis on the YouTube channel. Please stay tuned for the latest.